Rain slammed the windshield so hard it sounded like bullets. Marcus Lee didn't look back, not even once, because he already knew what he'd see. Blue lights, black SUVs, men who didn't chase to arrest, but to erase. In the back seat, a 7-year-old boy was struggling to breathe, curled into the leather like he was trying to disappear. His small hand was locked around Marcus's sleeve so tight it hurt. "Don't let them take me," the boy whispered. Marcus swallowed, kept the car steady, kept his voice calm like he could control the world with tone alone. "You hear me, kid? You stay awake. You stay with me." A siren screamed closer. The mirror flashed again. And then the radio broke through the static with the words that changed everything. "Chairman Kang is in critical condition. Doctors say life support may be removed within 48 hours. Marcus's grip tightened until his knuckles turned white. Because if Kang died, the boy in his back seat wouldn't just lose a father. He'd become a problem. And Marcus Lee would become the man sole blamed for everything. Rain fell in thin silver lines, turning Seoul into a mirror that couldn't stop staring back. Marcus Lee drove like a man who didn't trust the world to stay quiet for long. The car was a glossy black Genesis, clean leather, soft blue lights on the dash, the kind of vehicle that made people move out of the way without being asked. In the back seat sat Chairman Kang, eyes on his phone, face calm in the way powerful men learn to be. Next to him, his 7-year-old son Yoon rolled a little red die-cast car across the seat like it was a racetrack. Marcus watched them through the rearview mirror. Yoon looked up, curious and innocent in a way that didn't belong in a man's world like Kang's. "Mr. Marcus?" the boy asked, pressing his face to the window. "Do raindrops fall the same everywhere?" Marcus felt the question hit him somewhere he kept locked. "Yeah," he said, keeping his voice steady. "Same everywhere." Yoon smiled, satisfied, and went back to his toy. Chairman Kang didn't look up, but his voice came low and controlled. "Lee." "Yes, Chairman." "You're quiet tonight." Marcus kept his eyes moving. Mirror, road, side streets. "I'm listening," Marcus replied. Kang's mouth tightened slightly, like he understood what that meant. Marcus wasn't just hearing rain and tires. He was hearing the city, and the city sounded wrong. 2 vehicles appeared behind them, not close enough to be obvious to a normal driver. But Marcus wasn't normal. They held distance too perfectly, changed lanes too smoothly, stayed aligned like they were attached to him by an invisible rope. Marcus didn't panic. Panic wastes time. He clicked the Bluetooth and spoke like it was nothing. "Chairman, we have company." Kang finally looked up. "How long?" "Less than 2 minutes," Marcus said. "Maybe less." The back seat, Yoon stopped playing. He could feel the shift even if he didn't understand it. Chairman Kang pulled his son close, one hand over the boy's head, shielding him from fear with nothing but posture. Then Kang spoke again, voice flat. "Lee, you know what to do." Marcus did. It was the rule Kang had paid him for. If the night ever turned ugly, Marcus had one job. Keep the boy alive. It happened so fast it didn't feel real at first. A flash ahead. A violent burst of light. Cars swerving, horns screaming. The road suddenly turning into confusion. Marcus didn't stare. He moved. He cut the wheel, swung into a narrow lane, shoved the car forward through a gap most drivers wouldn't even see. Behind them, the black SUVs accelerated. Not police, no sirens, just hunger. Gunshots snapped through the storm, not loud like movies, sharp, wrong, final. Yoon cried out. Chairman Kang leaned forward like he could protect his son with his body alone. Marcus reached back, palm open, pushing Yoon down gently. "Stay low," he ordered. "Head down. Don't look." The Genesis took a hit, not enough to stop them, but enough to shake the car. Marcus swore under his breath, eyes locked on the road. Then he saw a side street, a tight turn, a delivery alley, a place you only noticed if you were already thinking about escape. He took it. The car slid, tires fighting water and fear. For one heartbeat, it felt like they might make it. Then another shot cracked, and Chairman Kang made a sound Marcus had never heard from him before. Not anger, not command, pain. Marcus glanced in the mirror and saw it. Kang's shirt darkening. The chairman's hand pressed to his side, then slipped, then pressed again, like he could hold his own life inside his body by force. Yoon screamed, "Dad!" Kang didn't answer. He only looked at Marcus, eyes focused through the chaos. And in that look was a message that didn't need words. Save my son. The hospital was bright, enough to feel cruel. Doctors and nurses moved fast, hands firm, voices sharp. Kang was taken away. Doors swung closed. Machines beeped somewhere behind walls. Yoon clung to Marcus like Marcus was the only solid thing left. Marcus knelt, gripping the boy's shoulders gently. "Listen to me," he said. "Your dad is getting help. You stay with me, okay?" Yoon's face was wet with tears and rain. Are they going to kill him? Marcus didn't lie. He also didn't break the kid with the truth. "I don't know," he said. "But you're safe right now." They weren't. Not really. Because Marcus caught the movement by the entrance. A man watching too hard. A woman pretending not to watch at all. And a uniformed officer already being handed a phone with Marcus's face on it. Someone was shaping the story in real time, and Marcus could feel the trap closing. By dawn, Seoul had a new headline. Not ambush. Not attempted assassination. Not Chairman Kang. Attacked. The headline was cleaner. Easier to sell. Easier to control. Driver missing with Mafia heir. Kidnapping suspected. Marcus stared at a TV in a corner store, soaked to the bone, Yoon hidden behind his coat. On the screen, a blurry CCTV image of Marcus carrying Yoon through the hospital entrance. No context, no explanation. Just a picture that could be twisted into anything. Then the crawl at the bottom. Reward offered. Call if you see this man. Marcus turned the TV off, not gently. He looked down at Yoon. The boy whispered, voice shaking. "Am I in trouble?" Marcus swallowed. "Not with me," he said. "You're not." Then he took the boy's hand and walked out into the rain, because staying meant getting surrounded. And in this city, being surrounded meant being taken. The hotel wasn't a safe place. It was just the first place where no one asked questions. A small room near the river. Bleach smell. Thin walls. A window that showed nothing but wet city. Lights. Marcus locked the door, checked it twice, then put a chair under the handle. Yoon sat on the bed hugging his toy car, eyes wide, body exhausted. Marcus crouched in front of him. "Hey," he said softly. "You did good. You stayed quiet, you stayed brave." Yoon tried to be brave again. "Are you going to leave me too?" That question hit Marcus in the chest like a punch. He thought of Emma, the daughter he hadn't protected, the years he couldn't get back. He forced his voice to hold. "No," he said. "Not tonight. Not ever, if I can help it." Yoon's eyes fluttered, finally giving in to sleep. His fingers stayed locked around Marcus's sleeve even as he drifted off. Marcus sat in the chair by the window, pistol resting low, unseen. Outside, Seoul kept moving. Inside, Marcus finally let the truth settle in his bones. He wasn't just running from the police. He was running from the men who tried to kill the father. And those men would come for the son next. 2:17 a.m. 3 soft knocks. Not loud. Not desperate. Controlled. Marcus stood instantly. He moved without sound, checked the peephole. A woman. Tall. Wet hair. Designer coat clinging to her like she'd walked through the storm for miles. Her eyes were sharp even with fear in them. Marcus cracked the door just enough to keep control. The woman spoke fast, low, urgent. "They're coming for the boy tonight." Marcus didn't open the door wider. "Who are you?" She swallowed hard. "Seo Rakong," she said. "His aunt." Marcus felt the room shift. Because if she was here, it meant the net had tightened far more than he realized, and she added the one sentence that made Marcus's blood run cold. "My brother is on life support. If he dies, Min-jae takes everything." She looked past Marcus toward the bed where Yoon slept. "And the first thing he'll take is your life." Marcus stared at her, the rain dripping from her hair onto the hotel carpet. Then he asked the only question that mattered. "Why should I trust you?" Marcus kept the door half open, one hand on the frame, the other low, ready. Seo Ra-kong stood in the hallway like she'd been dropped there by the storm. Wet hair, expensive coat, eyes sharp enough to cut glass, even with fear sitting behind them. Marcus didn't move aside. "Why should I trust you?" he asked. Seo Ra swallowed. Her voice came out steady, but her hands betrayed her. A slight shake, a tiny tremor in the fingers. "Because if you don't," she said, "my nephew dies before sunrise." From behind Marcus, the bed creaked. Yoon shifted in his sleep and mumbled something soft. Seo Ra flinched at the sound like it was a gunshot. Marcus watched her closely. People could fake tears. They could fake panic. But fear like that? Fear that lived in the body was harder to manufacture. "Who's coming?" Marcus asked. Seo Ra leaned in, lowering her voice. "Min-jae Choi," she said, "my brother's lieutenant." Marcus's face didn't change, but his mind did. A lieutenant meant access, soldiers, weapons, police contacts, the kind of man who could write your name into a story and make the city believe it. Seo Ra kept speaking. "He's already told the police you kidnapped Yoon. He's using the chaos to lock you in as the villain." Marcus's jaw tightened. "So he controls the narrative. And the streets," she added. "He has men watching hospitals, hotels, taxi depots, train stations. You won't make it to morning if you stay." Marcus didn't hesitate anymore. He opened the door fully. "Get inside," he said. Marcus moved fast, quiet. He killed the lights, checked the hallway both ways, looked through the window crack, counted cars. Seo Ra spoke quickly, like she'd rehearsed the words in her head 100 times. "There's a coastal route, a place outside the city, an old inn that's been closed for years. No staff, no cameras. My friend has the key." Marcus nodded once. "How far?" 2 hours if we don't get stuck." Marcus grabbed a small duffel he'd packed without thinking. Passport, cash, charger, first aid, the pistol wrapped in cloth. Seo Ra stared at the bag. "You planned for this." Marcus didn't answer. He walked to the bed, crouched, and touched Yoon's shoulder gently. "Kid," he whispered. "Wake up. We're moving." Yoon blinked in confusion, then saw Seo Ra and sat up fast. "Auntie?" he said, voice breaking with relief. Seo Ra stepped forward, trying to smile, trying to keep her voice soft. "I'm here, baby." Yoon's eyes bounced between them. "Are we safe now?" Marcus didn't lie. "Not yet," he said, "but we're getting there." They left through the service stairwell. Marcus didn't take the elevator. Elevators had cameras. Elevators trapped you. Outside, the rain had eased, but the city was still wet, shining under neon like it wanted to show off the danger. Marcus walked them to the Genesis, keeping his body between them and the street. Seo Ra held Yoon close, whispering in Korean. Marcus started the engine, and immediately he saw headlights flick on across the street. Not a patrol car, a black sedan. It started moving as soon as they did. Marcus's voice stayed calm, but his eyes hardened. We're already burned, he said. Seo-ra's mouth went dry. How? Marcus didn't answer. He cut hard left, then right, then into a narrow alley most drivers wouldn't touch in a luxury car. The sedan followed. Marcus exhaled once. Controlled. Seatbelt. He told Yoon. Yoon fumbled. Marcus reached back, clicked it for him with one hand. The sedan gained. Marcus saw a second set of headlights appear behind the first. 2 cars now. Seo-ra whispered, "They found us too fast." Marcus's gaze flicked to her for half a second. Too fast. That thought stayed in his mind like a thorn. They broke through traffic and hit the expressway heading east. The city loosened its grip little by little. Fewer buildings, darker roads, a sense of air returning. Yoon fell asleep again, clutching his toy car. Seo-ra stared out the window, jaw locked. Marcus drove in silence for a long time, then spoke without looking at her. You knew Minjai was coming tonight. Seo-ra's throat tightened. Yes. And you found me anyway. Yes. Marcus's tone stayed neutral, but every word was a test. How? Seo-ra hesitated. I have eyes in the city, she said carefully. People who told me where you went. Marcus nodded slowly like he accepted it. But he didn't. Not fully, because eyes in the city could also mean something else. The inn sat off a coastal road like it had been forgotten on purpose. Ivy crawled up the walls. Rust ate the gate. The sign hung crooked, barely readable. Seo-ra's friend had left a key taped beneath a stone. Marcus checked the area before they went in. Walked the perimeter, counted windows, checked the back exit, looked for tire tracks. Nothing. That was good. And suspicious. Inside, the air smelled like dust and old wood and time that had stopped moving. Marcus carried Yoon upstairs into a room with a view of dark water. Seo-ra found a small oil heater and coaxed it to life. Warmth came slowly, like trust. Marcus set Yoon down gently on the bed. The boy opened his eyes halfway. "Mr. Marcus?" he whispered. "Yeah, kid." Yoon's voice was tiny. "Are you my dad now?" The question hit Marcus so hard he had to look away. "No," he said quietly. "You've got a dad." "But he's sleeping forever," Yoon whispered, tears starting again. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed. "He's fighting," Marcus said. "And we're fighting too." Yoon blinked sleepily. "Okay." And he drifted off. Seo-ra watched the whole thing, eyes shining in the dim light. For the first time, she looked at Marcus. Like he wasn't just a driver, like he was something rare. A man who didn't run when the kid needed him. Later, Marcus cleaned a cut on his arm by the sink. Seo-ra appeared behind him with a small sewing kit she'd found in a drawer. "You're bleeding," she said. "I've bled before." "That doesn't make it fine." She guided him to sit. Her hands were steady as she stitched the cut. Not perfect, but practiced. Marcus watched her fingers. "You've done this," he said. Seo-ra didn't look up. "In this family," she said, "you learn how to stop blood." Silence sat between them. Then softly, she spoke again. "My brother said you were different." Marcus's eyes stayed on her. "Your brother didn't know me." Seo-ra tied the knot and finally met his gaze. "He said you had a line you wouldn't cross." Marcus almost laughed, but it came out rough. "I crossed lines in Afghanistan. I just don't want to live there anymore." Seo-ra's expression shifted. "Why stay for Yoon?" she asked. "You could have run alone. You could have disappeared." Marcus's voice got quieter. "Because he looked at me like my daughter did." Seo-ra froze. "You have a daughter?" Marcus stared at the wall like the answer was carved there. "Emma," he said, "and I lost her while I was still alive." Seo-ra didn't ask how. She simply sat there, listening, letting the silence carry the grief without forcing it into details. It was the first real tenderness between them. Not romance, recognition. Two people who understood loss. The heater ticked. The rain returned lightly, tapping the window. Seora's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and went pale. Marcus noticed immediately. "Who is it?" Seora shook her head too fast. "No one." Marcus held her gaze. "Answer it." She swallowed and declined the call. It buzzed again and again. Marcus stepped closer, voice low. "Seora." "Who?" She finally whispered. "Min Jae." Marcus's stomach tightened. Seora's eyes filled with panic. "If he knows we're here." Marcus moved instantly. He killed the heater, turned off the lights, checked the window. Outside, the coastal road was empty. But Marcus knew something now. Min Jae wasn't guessing. Min Jae was tracking. And tracking meant one thing. Someone close to the boy was feeding him information. Marcus turned slowly back to Seora. Not accusing, not yet. Just watching. Seora's voice shook. "He told me, if I don't cooperate, he'll kill Yoon." Marcus stared at her. And in that moment, something shifted. Not love. Not trust. A crack. A question. Because Marcus could handle being hunted. What he couldn't handle was being hunted from the inside. Marcus leaned in, voice calm but deadly serious. "Seora, tell me the truth." And Seora realized she had one chance to answer right. Because if she lied again, Marcus would still protect the child. But he might not protect her. Marcus kept his voice low, but it wasn't soft. "Seora, tell me the truth." Seora stood frozen in the dim room, phone still buzzing in her hand like it was alive. Her eyes went wet, not with drama, with shame. "I didn't mean for this," she whispered. Marcus didn't blink. "That's not an answer." She swallowed hard. "Min Jae, he's been using me." Marcus took one slow step closer. "How?" Seora's voice cracked. "He threatened Yoon. He said if I didn't cooperate, he'd kill him and blame it on you. He said my brother would never wake up, and even if he did, he'd wake up to a dead son." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he stayed controlled. "Cooperate how?" he asked. Seora's hands shook. "Updates, locations, movement. Just enough to keep him close." Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then he asked the question that mattered most. "Did you tell him this in?" Seora looked down. Silence. That was the answer. Marcus exhaled once. Slow. He didn't shout. He didn't explode. He just said, flat and final, "Pack! We leave now." Seora's head snapped up. "Marcus, please, I didn't have a choice." Marcus looked toward the bed where Yoon slept, still clutching his toy car. "You always have a choice," he said. "You just don't always like the price." They moved fast. Marcus grabbed the duffel, checked the window, listened. The world outside felt too quiet. Then, far down the road, a single set of headlights appeared. Slow, patient. Like whoever was driving knew they didn't need to rush. Marcus felt the hair on his arms lift. He leaned close to Seora. "Wake Yoon, quietly." Seora went to the bed and shook Yoon gently. "Baby," she whispered. "Wake up. We're going on a small drive." Yoon's eyes fluttered open. "Why?" Marcus didn't sugarcoat it. "Because bad men found us," he said, "and we're leaving before they get close." Yoon sat up fast, fear returning like it never really left. Marcus lifted him off the bed and carried him downstairs to save time. As they reached the bottom floor, headlights flared brighter through the front windows. A car had stopped outside. Then another. Marcus pulled them into a side corridor and killed the last light. Through a crack in the boarded window, he watched two men step out. Not police. No uniforms. No uncertainty. Professional posture. controlled pace. Hunters. Seo-ra's breathing turned thin. Marcus. He raised one finger. Quiet. He guided them toward the back door, but before they could reach it, a voice floated through the front of the inn, calm and amused. Seo-ra. She froze. Marcus's eyes hardened. That voice didn't need an introduction. Minjae. Minjae didn't shout. He didn't threaten. That's what made him dangerous. Come out, he called. I don't want to scare the child. Seo-ra's eyes squeezed shut like she was trying to will the moment away. Marcus whispered, Do not move. But Minjae continued, voice smooth. You've always been soft, Seo-ra. Always emotional. You were never built for this. A pause. I'll make it simple. Give me the boy and you both walk away alive. Yoon clung to Marcus's shoulder. Mr. Marcus? He whispered. Marcus leaned his forehead against the boy's head for 1 second. I got you, Marcus whispered back. Then he made a decision. He looked at Seo-ra. He's not here for a deal. He's here to finish it. Seo-ra's face broke. It's my fault. Marcus didn't argue. There wasn't time. He pointed toward the back exit. Run to the car. When I say go, you go. Don't look back. Seo-ra shook her head. I'm not leaving you. Marcus's voice turned steel. You're not leaving him. Seo-ra's eyes flicked to Yoon. She nodded once, swallowing her fear. Marcus turned toward the darkness, listening for footsteps. And then, he heard it. The back door handle testing. They were surrounding the inn. Marcus moved first. He kicked open a side service door that led into the old storage yard and shoved Seo-ra toward the Genesis. Go, he hissed. Seo-ra ran, half carrying Yoon now, the boy crying into her shoulder. Gunfire snapped behind them. Not wild, not loud, controlled bursts meant to pin, not spray. Marcus didn't fire back blindly. He used angles, shadows, timing. He stayed between the bullets and the people who couldn't fight. They reached the car. Seo-ra yanked the back door open and shoved Yoon inside. Marcus slid into the driver's seat and turned the key. Nothing. The engine sputtered, then died. Seo-ra's face turned to ice. No. No, no. No. Marcus tried again. Dead. He looked at Seo-ra and his voice went quiet. They disabled it. Seo-ra's mouth opened, but no words came out, because now they weren't escaping. They were trapped. Minjae's voice carried again, closer. Now. Driver. Marcus slowly stepped out of the car, hands visible. Not surrender. Strategy. He shut the door gently like the night wasn't trying to kill them. Then he said, loud enough for Minjae to hear, You want me? Fine. Seo-ra's eyes widened. Marcus, don't. Marcus didn't look back. He was watching the darkness like it was a battlefield. Minjae stepped into the yard like he owned the rain. Tall, clean coat. A small smile that never reached his eyes. Behind him, 2 men with weapons held low but ready. Minjae nodded at Marcus like they were business partners. You're impressive, Minjae said in English. A driver who thinks he's a hero. Marcus didn't answer. Minjae tilted his head. Here's the rule now. You don't get to choose the ending. Seo-ra's voice shook. Minjae, please. He's a child. Minjae didn't even look at her when he replied. That's why this has to be finished. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Your boss is on life support. You think you'll keep the throne if his son disappears? Minjae smiled wider. There is no throne without fear, he said. And a child is a crack in fear. Your existence is a crack too. Marcus shifted his stance slightly. Minjae noticed. He lifted a finger, amused. Ah, soldier instincts? I like that. Then Minjae raised his voice, just a little. Bring the boy. Seo-ra's body locked. She didn't move. Minjae's eyes finally cut to her. You want him to die slow? He asked casually, as if discussing weather. Seora shook her head, trembling. Marcus stepped forward, voice controlled but sharp. Touch that kid and you won't walk out of here. Min-jae laughed softly. You're bluffing. Marcus didn't flinch. I'm not. For the first time, Min-jae's smile faded, because he heard it. The certainty. Marcus did the one thing Min-jae wasn't expecting. He didn't charge. He didn't beg. He spoke, like a man who already had a plan. You think I came here with no exits? Marcus asked. Min-jae's eyes narrowed. Marcus lifted his phone and turned the screen outward. One message leaves this phone, Marcus said. One message goes to someone your men can't buy. Seora stared. Marcus. Min-jae took a careful step closer. Who? Marcus's voice stayed steady. A detective who owes me a life. Min-jae's jaw tightened. You're lying. Marcus shrugged. Try me. Min-jae held Marcus's gaze, reading him. Then he made a small motion with his hand. One of his men raised a gun slightly. Not to fire yet. To remind. Min-jae leaned in, voice suddenly colder. You know what I think? He said. I think your weak spot is the child. I think you'll trade anything for him. Marcus didn't blink. That's where you're wrong, Marcus said. My weak spot is regret. Min-jae's face flickered with confusion. Marcus continued. And I'm done collecting it. Then Marcus pressed send. For a moment, nothing happened. Rain hit the ground, waves crashed somewhere far off. The world held its breath. Then, faint at first, a sound threaded through the night. Sirens. Far away, but real. Min-jae's men shifted. Uneasy. Min-jae's smile returned, but it looked forced now. Police? He said, almost amused. You think police scare me? Marcus's voice stayed flat. They don't have to scare you, he said. They just have to slow you down. Min-jae's eyes flicked toward the road. Calculating. He turned back to Seora and pointed once. Bring the boy, he snapped, losing some of his calm. Seora trembled, caught between fear and love and guilt. Yoon's small voice came from inside the car, shaking. Auntie, don't. Seora's eyes filled. Marcus's voice softened, just enough to reach her. Seora, he said. Choose right. Right now. Seora's body shook like she might break. In half. Then she stepped toward the back door of the Genesis. Min-jae's shoulders relaxed slightly, thinking he'd won. But Seora didn't open the door to hand Yoon over. She opened it to pull Yoon out and run. Min-jae's face twisted. Stop her! His men surged forward. Marcus moved. Fast, clean, not reckless. A barrier in motion. And as the sirens grew louder, the night turned into a single brutal question. Marcus grabbed Seora's wrist and pushed her behind him. Min-jae raised his gun. And in the back seat, Yoon screamed Marcus's name as the first shot fired. The first shot cracked through the rain. Marcus didn't freeze. He moved like muscle memory. He yanked Seora down and shoved her behind the trunk. The bullet tore through the air where her head had been a second ago and hit metal with a hard, ugly clang. Yoon screamed inside the car. Mr. Marcus! Marcus snapped. Stay down! Then fired back once, not to kill, but to create space. Min-jae's men scattered. They were trained. They didn't panic. Min-jae didn't move at all. He stood in the open rain like he couldn't imagine a world where he lost. The sirens were louder now, winding closer. Min-jae's eyes flicked toward the road again. Calculating. He hated time. Time belonged to law and consequences. Time was the one thing killers couldn't shoot. Marcus used that. He took one step forward, weapon steady, voice low. You came here to finish a child, he said. That's what you are. Min-jae smiled, thin and cruel. I came to clean my mess, he replied. Your conscience just happened to be in the way. Another set of headlights appeared on the road. Not police. A third car. Minjai had backups. Marcus felt it in his bones. This wasn't a chase. This was a closing circle. He didn't have minutes. He had seconds. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Seo-ra's eyes snapped to it. "Marcus, what are you doing?" Marcus didn't look away from Minjai. "Ending the story," he said. Then he threw the phone hard, straight at Minjai's face. Minjai flinched. It was tiny. It was enough. Marcus surged forward, disarmed one man with a sharp twist of the wrist, drove his shoulder into another, and fired once into the ground near their feet. The sound made everyone hesitate. Not because they were scared, because they didn't want the police arriving to find bodies. Marcus grabbed Seo-ra. "Run!" he hissed. "Now!" She yanked open the back door, pulled Yoon into her arms, and they bolted into the dark trees behind the inn. They ran through wet brush and mud, Yoon half carried, half dragged, his toy car still clenched in his fist like it was the only thing he could control. Marcus stayed behind them, checking angles, listening for footfalls. Behind them, Minjai shouted orders, not loud, controlled, like a manager directing staff. "Spread out, don't fire unless you see him. The boy comes first." Seo-ra's breath came in ragged bursts. "Where are we going?" she whispered. Marcus didn't stop moving. "A place with cameras," he said. "A place where the truth already exists." Seo-ra blinked. "What?" Marcus's eyes stayed hard. "The hospital." Seo-ra's face tightened. "That's insane." Marcus nodded. "Good. They won't expect it." Yoon coughed, frightened. "Daddy?" Seo-ra pressed the boy's head into her shoulder. Marcus glanced at Yoon and made a decision inside himself. They were done running in circles. If they kept running without proof, they'd die as villains. They needed evidence. Something that couldn't be edited. Something that exposed Minjai with no room for argument. Marcus said it aloud, like a vow. "We get the footage," he told Seo-ra. "We end Minjai." 2 hours later, they were back near Seoul. Not in the rich parts, not in the parts full of cameras and patrol cars. In the quiet edges where the city was still sleeping, they hid in a borrowed apartment above a closed barber shop. Dusty curtains, old furniture. One window that showed a narrow street below. Seo-ra set Yoon on the couch and wrapped him in a blanket. The boy's eyes were red, his little body trembling from adrenaline. Marcus knelt in front of him. "Listen," Marcus said. "We're going to help your dad. You hear me?" Yoon nodded, swallowing. "Are you going to leave me?" he whispered again. Marcus held the boy's gaze. "Not this time," he said. "Not ever again." Seo-ra watched that and something broke in her face. She turned away quickly, wiping tears like she was angry at them. Marcus stood and faced her. "Now you tell me everything," he said. Seo-ra nodded. "No excuses this time." "Minjai has police contacts," she admitted. "Media contacts too. He pushed the kidnapping story before you even left the hospital. He wants you trapped as the villain." Marcus stared at her. "And you?" Seo-ra's voice dropped. "I helped. At first," she confessed. "Not the kidnapping lie. Never that. But I fed him small updates, because he said he'd kill Yoon." Marcus closed his eyes for a second. Then he opened them and looked at her like a man choosing control over rage. "All right," he said. "We fix it." Seo-ra blinked. "You still trust me?" Marcus shook his head slightly. "I don't," he said. "Not yet." Then he pointed toward Yoon. "But he needs you, and I need access." Seo-ra's mouth tightened, accepting the truth like a punishment. "What do you need?" she asked. Marcus answered immediately. "Your brother's access codes," he said. "And your face." Seo-ra stiffened. "My face?" Marcus nodded. "You're the only one who can get us inside the hospital without alarms," he said. "I can't walk in there. They'll arrest me on sight." Seo-ra's throat worked. Fear. Shame. Courage trying to stand up. Okay, she said finally. I'll do it. Seoul Medical Hospital rose like glass and steel against the gray morning. Clean. Bright. Too calm for the kind of secrets it held. Marcus stayed in a maintenance uniform. Cap low, mask on, tool bag in hand. He moved like he belonged, like he was invisible. Seo-ra walked beside him dressed like a family visitor. Simple coat, no jewelry, hair tied back. The kind of look that didn't invite questions. They passed nurses, families, exhausted doctors. They passed security cameras. Seo-ra kept her eyes down, fingers wrapped around the access badge. Marcus's voice stayed in her ear. Don't rush, he murmured. Rushing gets noticed. They reached the ICU corridor. Through glass, Marcus saw Chairman Kang. Smaller than a man like that should ever look. Tubes, machines, a chest that rose only because something mechanical forced it to. Seo-ra stopped. Tears filled her eyes instantly. My brother, she whispered. Marcus didn't touch her. He didn't comfort her. Not because he didn't care, because comfort could wait, and time could not. He spoke quietly. We get the footage, he said. Then you can cry. Seo-ra nodded, wiping her face. Basement, she said. Security office. They moved. The security office was behind a locked door with a keypad. Seo-ra punched in the code with shaking fingers. The door clicked. Inside, a middle-aged guard sat with a cup of coffee, eyes half open, bored. He looked up. Seo-ra smiled politely. I'm sorry. My brother's ICU monitor isn't showing on the family screen. They told me to check the system. The guard frowned, uncertain. Marcus stepped in behind her, posture casual, head down. Maintenance, Marcus muttered, voice rough. Screen errors been all night. The guard sighed like his job was a headache. Fine, he said. 5 minutes. Seo-ra moved to the computer. Her fingers flew, faster than Marcus expected. She wasn't just an art curator. She knew systems. She pulled up the night of the ambush, the timestamp, the corridor cameras, the entrance camera. Marcus watched the loading bar crawl. Outside the door, footsteps passed. A laugh. A nurse talking. Normal life. Then the footage loaded. And there it was. The convoy arriving. Chaos. Kang being rushed in. Marcus carrying Yoon. And, in the background, barely visible at first, Min-jae, standing near the entrance. Not shocked. Not confused. Watching. Directing a man with an earpiece. Marcus leaned closer, eyes narrowing. Zoom, he said. Seo-ra did. Min-jae's face sharpened on screen. His mouth moved. A hand signal. And a second later, a suited man approached a police officer and handed him a phone. That's when the kidnapping story started. Not later. Immediately. Marcus felt cold spread through his chest. This is it, Marcus whispered. This is the rope. Seo-ra's fingers trembled as she copied the file to a drive. Then the door behind them opened. Too hard. Too fast. The guard snapped upright. A voice filled the room, smooth as oil. Seo-ra. Marcus's blood turned to ice. He didn't have to turn around to know. Min-jae had arrived. Min-jae stood in the doorway, perfectly calm, coat dry like he hadn't even walked through rain. 2 men behind him. Not hospital security. Not police. His men. Min-jae looked at Seo-ra like she was a disappointment he'd finally grown tired of. You really tried, he said softly. That's adorable. Seo-ra's body locked. Marcus stepped slightly in front of her, tool bag still in hand, like he was still just a worker. Min-jae's gaze moved to Marcus. And you, Min-jae said. Always the hero. Marcus stayed steady. You're in a hospital, Marcus said. You want a shootout with cameras and nurses? Min-jae shrugged. I don't need a shootout, he replied. I need the boy. And the footage deleted. Seo-ra clutched the drive behind her, back, knuckles white. Min-jae's smile widened. You're holding something, he said. Seo-ra's voice shook. Go to hell. Min-jae's eyes hardened. Bring her, he told his men. Marcus moved, fast, not to shoot, to block. He slammed the tool bag into one man's wrist, drove his elbow into the other's chest, and pushed Seo-ra behind him. The guard shouted, reaching for a phone. Min-jae lifted his hand. Sit, he told the guard, quiet and terrifying. The guard froze, then slowly sat, sweat forming on his forehead. Min-jae stepped closer to Marcus, voice low. You can't win, he said. You have no country here, no badge, no protection. Marcus stared him down. I don't need protection, Marcus said. I need time. Min-jae's brow flickered. Then, far above them, something changed. A building-wide announcement crackled overhead. A staff alert. Security. Sirens. Not outside. Inside. Because someone had finally noticed the wrong people in the Shaw's basement. Min-jae's eyes snapped up. He turned back to Marcus, face tightening. You called someone, Min-jae hissed. Marcus didn't smile. He simply said, I told you. Time is not your friend. Footsteps thundered in the hallway outside. Real security now. Too many. Too close. Min-jae's men looked uneasy. Min-jae looked furious. Seo-ra's hand shook behind Marcus's back, still holding the drive like it was the only thing keeping them alive. Min-jae leaned in, voice deadly quiet. Give me the drive, he said, or I start with the child. Seo-ra gasped. You don't know where he is. Min-jae's smile returned. Oh, he said, but I do. Seo-ra's face drained. Marcus's mind raced. Only a few people knew the apartment location. Very few. Min-jae lifted his phone and showed the screen. A photo. Yoon asleep on the couch, taken from inside the room. Seo-ra's breath stopped. Marcus felt something dark settle in his chest. Because this meant one thing. They weren't just being followed. They were being watched from the inside. Min-jae tilted his head. Last chance, he said. The drive. Or the boy. Marcus looked at Seo-ra. Seo-ra looked at Marcus. And in that second, their entire future balanced on one decision. Marcus tightened his grip on the tool bag like it was a weapon. Seo-ra's hand closed around the drive, and Min-jae's thumb hovered over the call button, ready to order a child's death with one tap. Min-jae held his phone up like a weapon. A photo of Yoon asleep on the couch. Taken from inside the room. Seo-ra went pale. No. Min-jae's voice stayed calm, almost bored. You're holding my future in your hand, he said, nodding at the drive. So I'm holding yours. Marcus didn't blink. He looked at Min-jae's eyes, not the phone, because phones could lie. Eyes didn't. You don't need the boy, Marcus said. You need silence. Min-jae smiled slightly. I need control, he corrected. The boy makes men loyal. The boy makes my throne unstable. Seo-ra's hand tightened around the drive so hard her knuckles whitened. Marcus took a slow breath and made a decision that felt like swallowing fire. He lifted the drive. Min-jae's shoulders loosened, convinced he'd won. Then Marcus said, You want it? Earn it. And he flung the drive across the room. Not toward Min-jae, toward the guard. The guard fumbled, nearly dropping it. Min-jae's face snapped, furious. Idiot! Marcus moved at the same time, stepping into Min-jae's space like a wall. Now, Marcus said. Seo-ra didn't hesitate. She grabbed the guard's phone off the desk and hit record, shoving it into the guard's shaking hands. Say it, she told the guard. Say what you saw. The guard's mouth opened and closed. Min-jae lunged. Marcus slammed him back into the doorframe, pinning him long enough for the guard to finally spit out the words that changed everything. "He was here that night," the guard blurted. "Min-jae Choi. He was here before the police. I saw him talking to the officer. He told them something. I saw it." The hallway outside erupted with voices. Real security. Real staff. The world was closing in. Min-jae realized it too. And when Min-jae realized he was losing control, he turned violent. Min-jae pulled a gun. Not to threaten. To end it. Marcus reacted instantly. He drove his forearm into Min-jae's wrist. The gun fired, the sound ripping through the basement like a bomb. A chunk of plaster exploded off the wall. Seo-ra screamed. The guard ducked behind the desk. Hospital security burst through the door and froze at the sight. Two men fighting, a gun in the air, blood on someone's knuckles. Min-jae shouted in Korean, fast, convincing, rehearsed. "He kidnapped the child. He attacked me." Security hesitated. Confusion is a weapon. Marcus didn't waste time arguing. He shouted one sentence, loud and clear. "Check the footage file that she just copied, now." Seo-ra held the drive up like it was proof, not fear. Hospital security grabbed it. The guard pointed, trembling. "He's lying," the guard yelled. "That man was here the night of the attack." Min-jae tried to break free. Marcus grabbed him, dragged him down, and pinned him, not choking, not brutal, just controlled. Just enough. Sirens wailed closer. Min-jae snarled, eyes wild now, mask gone. "You think this clears you?" he hissed at Marcus. "Even if you live, you'll never belong here." Marcus leaned closer, voice low and deadly calm. "I'm not trying to belong," Marcus said. "I'm trying to finish what your boss started." Min-jae spat blood and laughed. Then the police arrived. Not the ones Min-jae owned. Different ones. The ones Marcus had called. While Min-jae was dragged away, Seo-ra's hands shook so hard she could barely stand. She grabbed Marcus's arm, panic rising. Again. "Yoon," she whispered. "We have to get to Yoon." Marcus nodded once. They ran. Upstairs, past nurses, past cameras, past the ICU corridor where Chairman Kang lay still on machines. Seo-ra didn't stop this time. They didn't have the luxury of prayers. When they burst outside into the morning air, Seo-ra's phone rang. A private number. She answered with shaking hands. A woman's voice. Calm. Familiar. "I have him." Seo-ra's knees almost gave out. "Aunt Hannah," she gasped. Marcus stared. "Who is that?" Seo-ra swallowed, shame and relief fighting in her chest. "My aunt," she said quickly. "The only person I trusted to stay with him." Her aunt's voice continued, firm. "I saw men outside. I moved him. We're safe. I'm at the temple parking lot near the river." 10 minutes. Marcus exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for days. "Stay there," he said into the phone. "Don't move." They drove like the world was still on fire, because it was. At the temple parking lot, Yoon sat wrapped in a blanket in the back seat of an old sedan, toy car in his lap. When he saw Marcus, the boy bolted out and ran. Marcus caught him, lifted him, held him tight. Yoon clung to his neck like he was the only real thing left. "I thought you died," Yoon whispered. Marcus swallowed, eyes stinging. "I'm here," he said. "I'm right here." Seo-ra stood a few feet away shaking, tears falling without permission. Yoon looked at her, then at Marcus. "Auntie," he said softly. "Don't lie again." Seo-ra's face crumpled. "I won't," she promised. "Not ever." Marcus watched her say it. He didn't forgive her with words. He forgave her by letting her stand close. That was the first step back. 72 hours later, Chairman Kang opened his eyes. Not dramatic. Just slow. A man returning from the edge. Seo-ra was there first, crying like she couldn't stop. Then Detective Park arrived with the Evidence, footage, the guard statement, Min Jae's arrest, the media manipulation logs. Chairman Kang listened without speaking. When Park finished, Kang asked one thing. "My son." "Alive," Park said. "Because your driver kept him alive." Kang stared at the ceiling for a long moment. Then he whispered, voice rough from the tubes, "Bring him." When Yoon was lifted to the glass partition, he pressed his hand against it. His father raised a trembling hand and pressed back. No speeches, no apologies, just a father and son surviving each other's fear. Marcus stood behind them, quiet. A man who had saved a child and didn't know yet what it had cost him. The trial moved fast because the evidence didn't argue back. Min Jae was convicted. The organization fractured overnight. The loyal men didn't defend him. They defended the truth, because the truth gave them permission to switch sides. Marcus sat in court, jaw tight, hands folded, waiting for the world to decide what to call him. Hero, criminal, tool, victim. The judge read the decision carefully. The defendant acted to protect a child. The court recognizes exceptional circumstances. Probation, time served, restrictions, but freedom. When the gavel struck, Marcus didn't smile. He just closed his eyes for 1 second. Breathing, alive. Iseo Ra stood in the gallery, tears streaming, not performing, just feeling. When Marcus turned, their eyes met. Not romance, not yet. Just a quiet agreement. We survived. Weeks later, Marcus stood alone on a coastal road outside Busan, staring at the sea like it could rinse him clean. He thought about going back to America. He thought about his daughter. He thought about how easy it would be to disappear. Then he heard a small voice behind him. "Uncle Marcus!" He turned. Yoon ran into his arms like it was the most normal thing in the world. Seo Ra walked behind the boy, slower, cautious, like she didn't want to assume she still had the right to be near Marcus. She stopped a few feet away. "I'm not here to trap you," she said quietly. "I'm here to tell you the truth." Marcus watched her. She continued. "My brother is dissolving everything. No more shadows. No more men like Min Jae. And I'm stepping away too." She swallowed. "And I'm sorry. Not the kind of sorry that wants to be forgiven fast. The kind that's willing to earn it." Marcus held Yoon, feeling the weight of the child's trust. Then he looked at Seo Ra. "You did one thing right," he said. Seo Ra's breath caught. "What?" "You chose him," Marcus said. "In the end, you chose him." Seo Ra nodded, tears falling again. "I'll keep choosing him," she said. "Even if you never choose me." Marcus didn't answer right away. Then Yoon looked up at him and asked the simplest question. "Can we go eat noodles now?" Marcus laughed, a real laugh, surprised to hear it come out of his own body. "Yeah," he said. "We can." Seo Ra stepped closer, carefully. Marcus didn't pull away, and that was enough for now. He was hired to drive a powerful man. But one night in Seoul, he chose to protect a child. And in saving that boy, Marcus Lee finally found the part of himself that war couldn't kill. Because sometimes the people worth saving are the ones who teach you how to live again. If you were Marcus, would you have run alone or protected the child and faced the whole city?